Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome once again to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. I'm Arnie, and you're the Fantasy World of Sports. Let's get into it. We're on the last Thursday of our baseball season. Where did it go? It just started, right? Well, this weekend, Sunday at around 3:15, all the games start. All the games will be finished. We're going to take a look at the standings this morning. We're going to take a look at DFS baseball. There are 11 games today, only an 11-game slate. And in my opinion, looking at it, the best options today, if you're DFSing it, come from the Royals, Braves, Orioles, Red Sox, Cubs, and Nationals. There you go. So let's take a look at it. Hunter Dozier. What about Hunter Dozier? Well, he's got a great matchup today, in my opinion, against Detroit and Michael Fulmer. Fulmer's ERA north of 8. And Fulmer, well, he struggles against right-handed hitters. And we're going to talk about another Kansas City Royal in just a moment, other than Dozier, but let's focus on Dozier first. I think he is a great option, great contact hitter. Fulmer with those struggles. So let's go with another Royal. Let's also go with Maikel Franco today. Now, again, awful against right-handed bats is Fulmer. He's allowed 6 home runs in just 10 innings pitched to right-handed batters. And Franco, he has performed really well in the power department against right-handed arms this season. He has 7 homers and 12 doubles against right-handed pitching. So I think what you do is you double up on Dozier and Franco today in DFS. Now, I also mentioned Atlanta Braves. They're playing Pablo Lopez and the Marlins. And I really like Austin Riley today. Against right-handed hitting, Lopez has an astronomical ERA. He's allowed 3 home runs. Riley has smacked 6 homers and 2 doubles off of right-handed pitching this year. Again, Riley only, I'm going for these low-end players. I'm going to get into a real setting in a minute. I'm just giving you some players to think about right now today. Players I'm mentioning in this segment are owned in less than 50% of most leagues. How about Hanser Alberta for the Orioles? Now, Alberta started the year really strong, sort of tailed off, and he's primarily known for his ability to hit left-handed pitching. Well, today he gets a prize in that he gets to face Boston Red Sox left-hander Martin Perez. Martin Perez has a 4.83 FIP. He's allowed 5 home runs to righties across 39 innings pitched. He's also given up 20 walks. Alberto has hit 356 off of lefties this year. He also has a homer and 3 doubles. How about pitching? How about some other low-owned players today to think about in DFS? Jason Kipnis. He gets to face Pirate right-hander Chad Kuhl and his 5.03 ERA. Cole has struggled against lefties this year. Against lefties, he's given up 3 home runs in 15 innings. And, by the way, Kipnis has hit right-handers to the tune of a 291 average and an 850 OPS. I've been struggling with my audio. I'm going to, if you see me looking away, I'm going to try it one more time here and just to see if it now here for me in just a moment. If you guys are watching on Facebook, feel free to send me a comment, send me a question. We'll talk about players to add today. I got another Cub before we get into lineups. How about Jason Hayward? He's against the same Chad Kuhl. I've already talked about Kuhl's struggles against left-handed pitching. Hayward is hitting 327. with 5 home runs and 98 at-bats against right-handers. So I really like these guys I'm mentioning. They've just mentioned, again, owned in less than 50% of leagues. So now let's take a look at a daily lineup. And there's 2 pitchers I want to really focus on who have really come on strong here at the end of the year. First, Corbin Burns for the Milwaukee Brewers, who is in the Cy Young discussion. And maybe that wasn't something you thought about start of the year, but it's really true. He is in the Cy Young discussion, and he's facing off today. Let's take a look. He's one of the hottest pitchers in all of baseball. He's $8,400 DFS today. So let's take a look at some of his information over his last 5 starts. And I think that's what we look at. I mean, not necessarily season long here, but over his last 5 starts, here's what he's done. Check out these numbers. He's allowed 1 run over 29.2 innings. You want me to do the math for you? You want to do it? That's a 0.30 ERA. He has 7 or more strikeouts in each of those 5 starts, and a 36.6 strikeout to walk ratio. He has been, in other words, absolutely dominant. Yes, dominant. So he's facing a Cardinal team that's striking out over 26% of the time with a 1.29 ISO versus right-handed pitching in the month of September. So here's what it comes down to. If you're a DFS player today, daily fantasy, DF, and you don't pick up Corbin Burns, you might want to go check yourself into some type of facility to find out what's wrong with you, because Burns, to me, is the chalk pick of the day for pitchers. Now, let's give you a little sneaky pick to go along with that. I mentioned the Detroit game earlier. Michael Fulmer facing Kansas City bats. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But how about the other side of that on the mound? For the Kansas City Royals is Chris Bubick, a lefty. Now, his price tag, that's my reason for mentioning him, $6,600. But in his numbers, in his last 4 starts, he has struck out at least 6 batters in each of those 4 starts. In those 4 starts, he has a 1.99 ERA, a 26.3% strikeout rate. He's allowing a 10% barrel rate and 37% hard hit. Now, he faces the Tigers this month, September. Detroit. They're striking out 28% of the time. I saw a statistic on one of their players where he has batted 61 times and he has struck out 30 times. Yeah, half the time he's striking out. So that adds to the mix of the Tigers striking out a lot. They're striking out 28% of the time with left-handed pitching. So I think if you pair Bubick with Brewer ace Corbin Burns, you've got the ability then to go get some high-end bats. All right, so let's talk about other position players. Here's a cheap option at catcher. We're always looking for, I'm always looking for cheap catchers. Jacob Nottingham, catcher, Milwaukee Brewer, at St. Louis facing Kwang Hyun Kim. He's only $2,000 today in fantasy. And, Nottingham, he's not going to hit for a high average, but he does bring power. And in the month of September, he has a 14% barrel rate, a 43% hard hit rate, and he is 3 for 9 versus left-handed pitching. Of course, Kwon Young Kim is a left-handed pitcher for the Cardinals. Now, there are safer options like Salvi Perez for Kansas City, but he's $5,300. Christian Vasquez versus Baltimore, but he's $4,500. I'm looking at a possible real sleeper value here in Jacob Nottingham, $2,000 DFS. Now, first base. How many of you guys have been enchanted with Bobby Dahlback of the Boston Red Sox? I'm one of them. And today he's facing off against Oriole, not so much ace Alex Cobb. Now, Bobby Dahlback is a power bat. And that's 2 power bats in a row I'm talking about. Over his last 14 games, he has hit in 11 of those for a .320 batting average. He also has a 30% barrel rate, a 48% hard hit rate. Now, I do know I'm all about him. He's striking out 40% of the time. I got that. But when he does make contact, it's good contact. So he's got this strong matchup tonight, facing off against Alex Cobb. I think the Red Sox are a great stack, actually. I think that's going to be a really high-scoring game where I'm going. Other options at first base, the always aforementioned Freddie Freeman and Rufton Odor versus Christian Javier. Sneaky pick, Rufton Odor. Odor, he's boomer bust. We know he's been mostly bust, but over his last 10 games, although he's hitting only about .220, he sits safely in 7 of 10 of those games, and he's averaging 10 fantasy points a game over those 10. He faces Javier tonight, who's allowed over 2 home runs per 9 innings to left-handed bats. I just think he's a possible home run bat at a cheap price for daily. I'm talking about another Red Sox at third base today, and that's Rafael Devers, $5,500. Talk about a slow start to the season. But for the month of September, Devers is hitting .317. He has 8 extra base hits. Now, one thing he's always done is made pretty good contact. And in September, he's got a 17% barrel rate and a 50% hard hit rate. So, to me, he's your option. And I'm going back to pick on Michael Fulmer today at shortstop with Alberto Mondesi of the Kansas City Royals. I've said this before many times. To be as bad as they are in reality, the Royals have some pretty good fantasy players. It's amazing, huh? Remember when Mondesi just a few weeks ago, was a value, and now he's not? Well, now he's $5,000. He's hitting .286 with 3 extra base hits in his last 5 games with 4 stolen bases. So these are some picks for today I want you to go looking for in daily. I'll be back with you on Monday. We'll talk about the playoffs. I got a big show planned for Monday, so it'll take a little longer. You'll enjoy it. Can't wait to see you then here on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.